Hello, good evening, bonjour, goedenavond, and welcome to the fourth round of the VMS Bronze Split here in the Belgian Ardennes. Spa-Francorchamps is the stage for tonight. 7 kilometers and 4 meters of racing circuit. I don't have to explain to you back at home what a track this is. It's one of the most well-known, one of the most famous racing tracks in the world. 102 meters of elevation change as well, 19 corners, including the well-famous Eau Rouge and Radion section in Sector 1. And of course, Pognon in Sector 2 with No Name there in there as well. And there, of course, the flatted Sector 3 with Blanchiment and the bust-up chicane to round up the full lap. It's going to be a good one here tonight. We're at the halfway point of Season 4 for the Bronze Split. We've already had plenty of action out on track, including some endurance rounds at Le Mans and Bahrain and Monza. So we're already straight at the qualifying for LMGT3. We had a bit of a delay there, apologies. So we're straight into the session. And I'm just going to quickly introduce my co-host for tonight, Simon Musik. Simon, welcome to the commentary box. It's Spa-Francorchamps for us tonight. It's for sure going to be a good one.
Yeah, definitely. That Spa-Francorchamps is a very good race to watch, always. I mean, even if it's multicast, it's even better then. So I'm very keen and looking forward to this one.
Yes, for sure. It's always a good one at Spa, as we see Kevin Kieman there going off track in the Lexus. He's currently on provisional pole position with a 232.3. And the Lexus putting on some quick laps here as we are halfway through LMGT3 qualifying. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the first 25 minutes of qualifying, the first 10 minutes are for LMGT3 fields. It will be a 5-minute break between the two classes, with some time for these GT3 cars to round up their qualifying laps, and then 10 minutes for our hypercar field. And as you can see, it's pouring down with rain right now. It's light rain. It says in the graphic 20 degrees and a 24 degrees Celsius track temperature. Very wet weather, that's for sure. As you can see, the spray there coming off the McLaren of Pescatori, currently in second position in the 59 McLaren 720S. As we're just looking down the field, the top 10 is currently now having set a lap, so only Monroe's Whip and one other driver have yet to set a lap time at this stage in LMGT3 qualifying. Favero there, it's a 10.5 quicker in this flying lap for him. You can see it's a very, very tricky out there. Luckily, Simon, these conditions will remain drivable, unlike some things we might have seen in Formula 1 a couple of years ago at Spa in the rain. But it will be, as you can see, the track limits, it will be very difficult for these drivers to keep their cars within the white lines around here.
Yeah, definitely. And as you can see, now we're heading towards Blanchiment with M. Favero here. He obviously got track limits, so he is not doing a lap. But when you get that Blanchiment a bit too wrong, you're just gonna fly into fucking Netherlands. I'm gonna tell you that. So, yeah, it's not a very comfortable corner to go in wet, especially here in Spa-Francorchamps. So, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of puddles, you know, lassos. Now we're heading into turn 1, which is lassos. And there's just gonna be a huge puddle at the apex, I would imagine, and, you know, all of that other stuff. So, it's... Now we're heading towards Eau Rouge. It's basically the same with Blanchiment. So it's not very fun at all, but it's fun to watch, and that's what we are here for. So, yeah. But those track limits in Eau Rouge, especially in Blanchiment, are not gonna be fun for the drivers, definitely.
No, it really isn't, but he managed to get up there rather quickly through the Eau Rouge Favero, currently in P6, 1.7 seconds behind Van Nimmen in the Lamborghini P5. As I think Bram van der Tang has gone off track somewhere to cause a yellow flag in Sector 1, but that's quickly resolved. He's back in the pit lane, so I'm assuming there was a crash for him, and he's now back into the garage. As we are at the final minute of LMGT3 qualifying, and I doubt we'll see many changes anymore, as the top 4 is already in the pit lane. Ferrat's there in the Porsche 992, in the 82. That's a bit off in Sector 1, so So far, it's not looking like an improvement for him at this point. The Porsche already a tricky car to drive in regular conditions, let alone in the wet. That's going to be very, very tricky indeed. So as we are nearing the end of GT3 qualifying, I do want to make a quick announcement. We've been recently started partnering with HYMO Setups. We are now officially sponsored by HYMO Setups. They are one of our season sponsors, and of course, if you need any more setups for your own racing career, make sure to use the code VMS10 for 10% off at the checkout. So if you're looking for some setups and you want a bit of a discount, then use the code VMS10 so that they know you came from us. It both helps as well you as well as it helps us. So it's a win-win situation. Well, it's not a win-win situation. It's Ferras they're going off track, coming through. That is Stavolo and losing the rear, and that's his qualifying done. And I think with most of the cars in the pit lane, this will be pretty much it at this point. So Kevin Kienbaum takes pole position in LM GT3. Favero is still continuing on, but he is way off the pace as well. He comes into the pit lane. So I think it's safe to say that Kevin Kienbaum is on a pole position here for LM GT3 in the Lexus at 32.3. Very quick despite these tricky conditions. Pescatori in second in the McLaren with Bram van der Tang in third in the Lamborghini Huracan. Vindele, your championship leader on 81 points. We'll come to him in a short moment in P4 with Van Nimmen in P5. Favero P6, Ferras P7, Pasiep in P8. Patrick Den in P9 and Stellari is the final one to set a lap time in P10. And Monroe's, Wipf and Bourg and Villaert did not set a lap time. I'm just going to run you quickly through the championship standings of LM GT3. As I mentioned, Corbinian Wendele, the winner of the Le Mans Endurance Round 2 weeks ago, is leading the points on 81 after 3 races. A win in Bahrain, second place at Monza, and a win again at Le Mans. So he is off to a flying start in the VMS Bronze Split. Lorenzo Pescatori in second, winning in Monza and the McLaren, and then a 12 points at Bahrain and 15 points in Le Mans. He's on 52 points. Charles-Antoine Wipf in third with 2 P3s in Monza and Le Mans and a single point to Bahrain on 39. Van Nimmen in fourth on 33. It's Bram van der Tang in fifth on 30. Tom Villaert in sixth on 27. Pasiep in P7 on 20 points. David Schouten also on 20 points in P8. Mikael Favero in P9 on 14 points. And Guilherme Leost in P10 on 9 points. So that's the current top 10 in the GT3 standings. Now, as we are making our way to the hypercar qualifying in about 3 minutes' time. Now, Simon, we've talked a lot about tires the last couple of weeks, basically, since the new update. And we're going to talk about them pretty much again here. Hypercars are tricky to drive as they are, but in the rain, it's a whole different beast, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely is. I did try those new hypercars, so I can say they're very hard to drive, especially in the rain with the cold tires as well. You know, it's not fun for like 2 laps maybe. Then the tires get into the good window. I would imagine in the wet it's like more laps. Depends if you drive on the dry patches or the wet patches. But I think everyone's gonna drive on the dry patches, of course. Stupid idea by me. Anyways. So it's gonna take like 2-3 laps to warm up minimal, and then they could do some good laps, but it will really depend on skill. Then it's not gonna depend on hypercar, I don't think, since it's wet, and it seems like it's pretty wet, like a lot. So I can imagine that it's gonna be about the driver, not about the car. As we look onto the results of GT3 qualifying, and as you can see, even though it's in the rain, I think those standings are really close together. If you go down to 5th position, it's only 6 tenths. You have to mind that it's raining, you know, it's wet track, so that's a really good thing. And down from 6th to 9th, it's really close. It's even closer than the top 5. So the pace seems pretty close in these 2 fields. It's really split in to the midfield and into the top field right there. And there's a few other cars that haven't finished any laps, either from crashing or just not going out. Maybe last to first challenge on a wet track. Why not? So it seems pretty
Makes
fast.
for a good YouTube video.
Exactly, good entertainment. And as we can see, some LMDH cars and LMAH cars getting ready at the end of the pit lane for their qualifying.
Yep, indeed. We are within a minute of the start of Hypercar qualifying. I was going to say LMGT3, which is not true at all. I could have said LMDH, but let's put it at Hypercar. We see some cars already at the end of the pit lane. They're within a minute, so they're allowed to get into the fast lane and wait for the green light to come on in about 15 seconds time. And as you can see, we have a very diverse field of hypercars once again in this field. Luckily for us, bronze is one of those fields where you have a lot of different manufacturers all over the place. We see multiple Peugeots, multiple Valkyries, Cadillacs, a single Ferrari, 2 Porsches. So it's always very nice to see all those different cars out on track, and especially as to how competitive they all are compared to one another. So that's very, very cool to see indeed. It's Vince Cossa leading this pack. Vince Cossa winning last time out at Le Mans. He scored 38 points, maximum points. He puts him in third in the hypercar standings on 61. And that's Edoardo Di Giacomi in second position in the standings on 63. But Riccardo Tricciani is leading the pack on 70 points, winning in Bahrain and then 2 second places in a row. It's still very close between those three. It's about 9 points between the two. Then in P4, it's Daniel Maassen on 29. So the gap between P4 and P3 is already huge. It's well over 30 points, 32 to be precise. So it will be a massive job ahead for any drivers to close that gap to the top three already this early in the season. So that's going to be very difficult for them indeed. So I do want to quickly mention, I think Tricciani, I don't think he is here. Oh, there he is, P5, my mistake, I looked over him. So Simon, I've been really impressed with Riccardo Tricciani so far. He won the Bahrain, and then he had that massive battle in Monza, and the second place at Le Mans as well. He's been performing really well this season. It's pretty much, it's not his championship to lose already with just 7 points to P2, but I think he could be one of the favorites here.
Yeah, definitely. He's doing a great job so far. Definitely racing really good, getting good points, good results. That's what you need to do to challenge the championship, even if you miss 1-2 rounds. So yeah, now he just has to take it aggressively. You know, challenge that P1, because it's not your championship to lose, even though it is, you know, kinda. But you have to catch that P1, so you have to go for it. Absolutely send it without damage, ideally, and hope for the best. And I think these rainy conditions are the best thing for this championship challenge, because anything can happen. Basically, it's more than a dry track. You know, mistakes happen a lot more frequently. The track can get wetter, drier, and then the strategy makes a huge difference. So it's gonna be, this is a really good conditions for this type of challenge. And I think that Cadillac car, which shouldn't do much difference since it's wet, so it's more about the drivers. But that Cadillac car could work pretty well here, I could imagine. It's not gonna be too bad, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see even Riccardo Tricciani leading the championship after this race, but we'll just have to see.
We will just have to see for sure. It's about 7 minutes left in the session. You see spin there in front of the Valkyrie. I think that's Mark Imhoff. Yep, there you go. Spinning into Lecom. So that's his first qualifying lap done. Potentially already a flat spot on those wet weather tires. So that's not the start he was hoping for. This is the Valkyrie from Kolman we just saw. It's purple sector 1 for Vince Cossa already. So he's putting down the hammer very early in this session. He was flying out there in Le Mans as well during those wet conditions. So he is no stranger to these situations out on track in the number 19 Porsche. And he's looking very, very quick indeed. It's cooled down just a little bit, the track, the last couple of minutes. So they have to bring both the track and the tires up to temperature once again. But Vince Cosa is looking very comfortable indeed in the number 19. Now screaming through sector 3 there on towards Blanchiment and the bus stop chicane. Someone has taken that purple sector 2 away from him already, so there's someone in the background going quicker still. It is Giacomi, the current second placed in the championship in the Valkyrie. So those two going at it very early here, as you can see, clattering over the curbs, very close to track limits, but just about keeping it on the road. Vince Cosa, the first one to cross the line, and it will be, I'm guessing, about a 220 to 21, 218. Never mind, then prove me wrong. 218.5, so about 18 seconds slower than the dry conditions. And you can just see how much. Oh, that's a big slap at Giacomi. He spins it around into the first corner. The 009. That's also a flat spot, probably on those tires. Not ideal in the qualifying lap. That's Daniel Maassen in third in the Peugeot, and the Kolman there in the Valkyrie in P4. Avoiding the other Valkyrie of Giacomi was still there in that earlier spin. And the third Valkyrie now in P5, 2.6 seconds after Grace Sawyer in P6 in the BMW de Moulin, and P7 Tracciani in P8. So not a good first lap for the championship leader, 3.5 seconds off. And he'll have a lot of work to do then in the final 4.5 minutes of this qualifying session. Could that be a strategy, Simon, to just go very slow on your first lap and build it up a bit more, contrary to what Vince Cosa is doing? Could Tracciani play a bit of a game here?
Definitely. There's a lot of strategy going on, which could go on and change the difference of the results after the qualifying, where you can do a lot of things. It's normally easier to just do the classic thing where, you know, you push, test the track conditions, and then you kinda know where the grip is, you have warmed up tires, maybe a little bit more used, but you know, you know where the grip is. Then yeah, exactly as you said, you can go slower, and then you won't know where the grip is, but you'll have fresher tires, but maybe not so warmed up as well. So definitely a lot of strategy can be played here. So I don't really see into it, so I really couldn't say much about it. But as we see Daniel Maassen actually setting the purple sector too, so this could be a really good lap for provisional pole with 3 minutes remaining in this qualifying.
Oh.
And yeah, outbraked himself. That's exactly what I've been talking about. Just lock these tires on the entry, and there's nothing you can do. You're becoming a passenger at that time into the bus stop, especially, you know, if you touch the grass, and you know, you just go straight, as we saw with Lewis Hamilton in the sprint quali last season. The same happened to him. You're just a passenger at that time. There's nothing you can do to make that bus stop. You just need to save the car and hope for the best. As Riccardo Tracciani now goes to P2, so there might be some of the strategy, exactly as you said.
Yep, so he is now in P3, 3/10 off Mark Imhoff, who puts his Peugeot up into provisional pole position, about a 10.5 quicker than Vince Cosa and the Porsche. And of course, Mark Imhoff, he is a bit down in the standings in P13, only 2 points on the board, but he has shown some great pace across the season so far. So don't count him out just yet. He is a bit out of position in those championship standings, and he could be on for a provisional pole position here. Well, he is a provisional pole here, and if nobody else is able to improve, then he might very well come away with a surprise pole position come the end of this. But of course, there's still some time left to go. At least one lap for all of these drivers. If Jeremy Barrault there off track, going very quick, slow indeed, off in the grass, and I think he's back to the pit lane. Although Sawyer going very deep into Rivaz there and losing the rear. It is already kind of a battle out on track. There's a fight for some position here at the end of this qualifying lap. I think it's Mark Imhoff in the front, leading two other cars and already fighting for every space that they can get. There is Riccardo Tracciani, championship leader, currently in third position. It's no improvement for him in sector 1, so they have to do some more work come sector 2 and 3 in the 98 Cadillac. And it's also not quicker in sector 2, so I don't think it will be an improvement from P3 for him at the moment. Demonien also slow for him in Sector 1 in the Toyota. Toyota really proving out to be very tricky across the season. Markowski off track there, still per 13. Barral off track once again. So both of them struggling very much in these conditions. Potentially some contact there. I'm not really sure if what happened there. As we see a replay of it. It's just a spin by the hypercar, by the Valkyrie. Obviously, number 10 was already stationary there in the gravel. So, two incidents not related to one another, but not the results that either of them would have hoped for. So that's Barrault coming through. I don't think that timer is still running, given that he is went off track there. So he will not go any further than P7. As Imhoff doesn't improve, but he remains on provisional pole position as the clock is now down to 0. He is starting another lap though, so he could be on for an improvement. I think there are not a lot of drivers who are still able to set another lap time. So, oh well, speaking too early. This could be a very good one for Vince Cossa. I think this is looking very quick indeed in the Porsche. I'm kind of surprised, Simon. The Porsche was very quick at Le Mans as well. It wasn't really the quickest hypercar out there, but it's looking very quick in the hands of Vince Cossa. Is there something to it? Something to that car that we don't know about?
The driver. Well, you know, it's wet conditions, and if Porsche is really good in Le Mans, you could imagine there's the whole Sector 3 and then the whole Camo straight where it's just fast straights, you know. So I can imagine the Porsche being really good around here, and you know, since it's really what the driver can make the mistake as not mistake difference. I'm sorry. The driver can make the difference definitely to the conditions, because well, as Vince Cossa is actually down on his delta now by about 10.5.
Oh.
That might have been track limits there, but I'm not sure about that. But we're gonna see what he's gonna do across the line. He's probably one of the last cars on the track, if not the last. He'll go across the line now. Is he gonna improve? Or he does improve by 3/10, but it's not. He did.
No, he remains on the same position, unfortunately, I think.
Yep, well, still P2. Ricardo Tressane, as we were talking about, is he gonna do anything? No, he stays right where he is. And I think the track actually got worse because no one's really improving right now. So, I think it's safe to say it's Imhoff on pole, Stevie.
Yep, I think you're very right there. It's Giacomi coming through for his final lap, I think, given the timer that's been a track limit as well for him. Let's see. It's well, not an improvement anyway, so Giacomi remains in P5. So it is Mark Imhoff on pole position, and the Peugeot, both Peugeots right up there with Maas in the third, but a 18.4, very quick lap time indeed by Mark Imhoff, who beats Vince Cossa for pole position. And Daniel Maassen in third. Trecciani, the championship leader, in fourth position. There we see the full standings. Within 3/10 of a second, so very, very close indeed. As we were mentioning earlier, Simon, with the LMGT3 field, it's very close stuff there. Giacomi half a second down only in P5. Rune Kolman 1,000th of a second slower than Giacomi in the second Valkyrie. So both those Valkyries very close to one another indeed, with the third Valkyrie in P7 in hands of Jeremy Barrault. And just missing out on the rest of the field, but multiple drivers again here, also not setting a lap time in the hands of Bortolin. There we go. Supa in the P8, Sawyer in P9, then in the BMW with Demoulin in P10, only 10 thousandths of a second behind the BMW driver. So also very close stuff between those two. As we just saw, Demoulin and I think there was Bortolin also not setting a lap time, as well as two other drivers who I just failed to see. So again, there are a couple of drivers not setting any lap times, potentially because they want to stay out of trouble at the start, but also they could have some post-race penalties applied from the Le Mans race, which then brings it over to Spa and makes it unable for them to set a lap time. So that is your grid for tonight. We have 80 minutes of racing ahead of us. Now, qualifying was already very wet indeed, and I'm afraid to say for our drivers that it will rain even more in the race. There's a 80% chance of rain during the race with a overcast, heavy rain weather split slot thing. I'm not really sure how to call that there. So it pretty safe to say that it will rain a lot during the race. Now, Simon, I usually avoid the weather when I'm racing. But when you have a race of about 80 minutes ahead of you, what is your strategy at the beginning? Do you take a lot of risk? Are you careful? What would you go for?
Well, I think it was 3 or 2 hour race around here in an LMP3 with extremely wet conditions as well, which switched to dries at the end. But it started in very wet conditions. So, I was kind of careful. Like the first couple of laps, you just pick up from mistakes. If you start at the back, I did start at the back because I didn't complete any of my quali laps because of track limits. So you just
happens to the best of us.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Is it good to mention I also jumped in without any practice? Anyways, well, you just kind of gain places from mistakes if you start at the back. So it's better to be safe than sorry. But when the pace settles for everyone, and you're faster than everyone, you just kind of have to be really aggressive because you don't know how long the conditions that you are fast in are gonna last. So you're just gonna have to be aggressive and kind of go for it while you're at your fastest, because someone might have a different setup and then be faster in different conditions. So be careful at the first laps, more than a classic race. But be aggressive as well if you're fast.
That's I think the wise words there. Be aggressive if you're fast, and if you're not, then just back off and let everyone else take each other out ahead of you. I think that's the safe thing to go for. As we see the field making their way to the start of this race, it is Mark Imhoff on pole position in the hypercar with with Vince Cossa alongside him. We're racing here in just a few moments time. Green then in the Belgium Ardennes. 80 minutes of racing ahead of us. It's a good start in the background for Giacomi, already on the inside. Daniel Maassen into third. It's a great move by the Valkyrie driver. Up ahead, it's still Mark Imhoff in the lead. I mean, Kolman losing some places there in the 24 Valkyrie. He is still behind Maassen, but losing out on Giacomi there. He's up to third, making our way through Rouge and Blanchiment for the first time. Pescatori then taking the lead in LMGT3. Kevin Kima in second position. Bron van der Tang in third. Vindelle is still in fourth. The championship leader, the number 13 Porsche there side by side through Rouge. In these conditions is very, very tricky indeed. But he's making it work still on the inside then of Bron van der Tang in the Lamborghini up towards Lecombe. Very aggressive defending there by the Lamborghini, and that's Vindelle still in P4. Van Nimmen, as we are on board with Van Nimmen in P5. Favero behind him in the BMW. So all clean, all surviving these first couple of laps then in both Hypercar and LMGT3. It's a bad run by Kevin Kienbaum, gets overtaken by the Lamborghini now with Vindelle up the inside in the Porsche. Probably gets the move done there. Oh, sliding around. Yeah, has to let him go as well. So Kevin Kienbaum not looking all that happy in the Lexus here in these opening stages. He is on the wet weather tire, so he isn't on the wrong tires, fortunately enough. But he is struggling just a bit out there, losing multiple places in this opening run, going very deep there as well into Pugnon. Not looking all that happy, but it's a surprisingly clean start then, Simon, at the first lap here.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to say, no one had a massive crash in Eau Rouge, so hands down for that, even in that new hypercars with those new tires. So really hands down to these drivers. They did a really good job of keeping it out of the wall at the very least. It's still Mark Imhoff leading from Vince Cosa and Riccardo Tresane. So it kinda stayed the same with Giacomo just making up. I think that's one place to go into P4 with that great move into the inside in turn 1. Now we're on board with Windela right behind the Lamborghini of Tank going into the bus stop. Is he gonna send it, or is he just gonna play it safe and just wait for that? The Lamborghini might have tried to send it, but it seems like it's more just the defending from the Porsche going into the bus stop. Now up the bus stop onto the pit straight. Is anyone gonna have any chance of overtaking anyone? Maybe Tank on Pescatore, or is he just gonna wait for another straight and just stay behind in these very, very tricky conditions? Anything can happen in a split second, basically. So very nice and very behaved start from all of these drivers. I must say I'm very surprised. But in hypercars, after the Camel Straight, pretty much everything stays the same. I think Zupan overtook Jeremy Barrett. So that seems like the only move, if I'm not mistaken. And it seems like it's the same with LMGT3 class.
Yep, a very well-behaved start, as you said. So they took to your advice and to stay as calm as possible at these opening stages and then go for it as hard as you can. That's Wendele past Bram van der Tang in the Lamborghini. So Wendele, the championship leader in LMGT3, now in second position. There goes the Lamborghini again on the inside there. And he almost forces his way past there of the championship leader. He won't be too happy with that, but it's Bram van der Tang back in second position. Wendele closes the door on Kevin Kienbaum, who's found some pace once again in the Lexus. And that's a bit of an aggressive move by Bram van der Tang, but he makes it work up into second position. In hypercar it is indeed still Mark Imhoff leading from Vince Cosa. Trecciani is back in third after re-overtaking Giacomi, who had an amazing start earlier on. Daniel Maassen still in fifth. Zupan and Barrault both overtook Rune Kolman there the first 2 laps, with Zupan getting past Barrault as well. So a bit of a bad start there for Rune Kolman, losing 2 places. So that's the Lamborghini going very deep into one of the chicanes here. To go defensive on the Lexus, but that is Wendele back pass once again on the Lamborghini number 8. So Bram van der Tang struggling also a bit here in these conditions through sector 2. Might have to do with some setup or some confidence as well in these very, very slippery conditions indeed. So that's back Wendele back up into second position, and van der Tang having to defend on Kevin Kienbaum in the Lexus. You see Mark Imhoff putting down the fastest lap, 23.2, already 1.7 seconds up the road from the rest of the field. And you could see here potentially Giacomo, he's just been overtaken by the Peugeot of Daniel Maassen. So Giacomi had an amazing start, but now dropping back a bit more compared to Daniel Maassen. And a terrible run there through Rouge, losing half a second. So he is back into 5th position. And this is a big fight going on there for P3 at the LMGT3 standings. Cars all over the road. And Kevin Kienbaum having to defend from Van Nimmen, who goes around the outside into turn 1. And is still there, hasn't got the move done just yet. The Lamborghini is going very quickly indeed. There we go, he's ahead of the 221 Lexus as well. So Kienbaum falling back even more in these first 2 laps. Oh, very close coming through Radion and Rouge. That's very, very tricky stuff. It's hard enough, as you mentioned, to keep these cars on the road, let alone fight within close proximity of one another. But they're making it work somehow in these opening stages. That's Kienbaum backing out from that move there. So he is back. Oh, that's Van Nimmen going deep, losing the rear, and Kienbaum get back past again. I'm trying to pass this over to you, Simon. I just want a bit of a question. Given these conditions, what kind of class would you prefer to be in right now? Because I think it's very tricky in a hypercar to drive on your own, let alone in these conditions with the drivers all over the road. But in LMGT3, they're not making each other easy as well. So if you were racing in this race, what kind of class would you prefer to be in right now in these situations?
It will be maybe a hot take, let's say, but I would rather be in the hypercar. You know, it's easier to set down some pace and no one can get close to you, while we're watching these LMGT3s go around and fight each other like their life is depending on it. I absolutely love the action, nothing against it, but you know, being the driver, it would be like very high adrenaline to go through in these wet conditions at Spa. It's a hard track on its own, you know, when you have to run a really low downforce because of the huge two basically straights. So it's really hard to do the middle sector. You have to be very precise and very smooth in those GT3s. I can imagine that in the hypercar, it's just you have to be really precise. It's basically the same with LMGT3, but you kinda have your space bubble to go into, because the pace is so much more dependent on the driver, because they're running no ABS on these cars, so it's much more hard to brake, and braking does usually most of the stuff like timing and stuff, so it more depends on it over the course of the lap. So I would rather be in a hypercar and set down some comfortable pace and just go on to that, rather than fight a lot of cars around me with easier braking.
Yeah, fair enough. I can imagine that, as we are on board with Kevin Kienbaum being overtaken by Tom Villard. You can see the difference in lap time. Tom Villard gaining a second and 2/10 there last lap on Kevin Kienbaum. So Kienbaum, he started in pole position. Remember, dropping back quite a bit now in that Lexus, trying to defend on the Porsche, but the Porsche just going around the outside. It's a great move there by Tom Villard in the Porsche 992. Makes easy work of the Lexus driver, and is up into P4, so Kienbaum falling back even more than in the first 10 minutes of this race. We're only on lap 304, given how long the lap times are in these conditions. So it's going to be a long evening for Kevin if it keeps going like this. If he's not able to up the pace just a little bit, he's losing quite a lot of time already. 6.5 seconds down on Pescatori, who we just saw getting in the fastest lap of the race in LMGT3. So he's not a happy camper out there, and it's not going his way as he would have hoped for. Same cannot be said for Tom Villard. He's now in P4. Remember, Tom Villard scored 0 points in the opening 2 rounds, but then got a second place at Le Mans 2 weeks ago. So he's currently in P6 in the standings on 27 points, but had a terrible first 2 opening rounds. And he is right now looking on course for a very good result as well, if he's able to keep this pace, keep the position for the next hour or so. And he is looking very feisty indeed out there in the 71 Porsche 992. So good stuff indeed. You can see already 3 DNFs there, or did not starts for LMGT3 in the hands of Borg, Monrose and the Rip. Rip, of course, crucially P3 in the standings on 39 points. He is 13 points behind Lorenzo Pescatori, is currently leading the race in the overall standing. So they're losing out quite a lot of momentum there. And as you see, it's a bit of a late move there by the Porsche. He makes it move, he kind of forces the Lamborghini driver into a mistake. Does go off track there at the final corner. Tom Villard with a very late move indeed with the Porsche on the Lamborghini of Bram van der Tang, moves his way up into 3rd. So that Porsche is really working well then at the first couple of laps here of this race, and he is up into the podium positions. Very good stuff indeed by Tom Villard. He's really working well with the Porsche in these opening couple of laps. The Lamborghini also not looking too shabby out there. Fastest laps are quite similar. Actually, Bram van der Tang, his fastest lap is quicker than Tom Villard's lap, so he is looking very feisty out there as well. We've got some large gaps forming already with the top 2 just finding the throttle, finding the grip, finding the pace, and just moving away. And this is Daniel Maassen closing the gap on Trajani. Trajani did just set the fastest lap time by 22.0, but Maassen only a 10.5 slower. So those Peugeots really are working well, Simon. I'm kind of surprised with that, but they're looking very comfortable. You can see how close he is to the two guys up the road. And Imhoff also pulling away. The Peugeot is looking very quick out there.
Well, I mean, if you look at it from a different type of angle, you know, that Peugeot is made basically only for Le Mans. And if you kinda look at Spa and Le Mans, you could see a lot of things that are very similar. You know, two long straights, basically straights. You know, some middle parts, but they're flowy, fast, you know, Porsche curves. Here it's the middle sector as a whole. So I can definitely see why the Porsches work here really well, since those two tracks are pretty similar if you look at it from that angle. But definitely, it's still two different tracks. But you know, as I said, I think 3 times now, but I'm gonna say it again. I can see why the Peugeots are working around here in a very good window.
Yep, well, they are looking very competitive out there indeed, as we just saw the P2, 3, and 4 of the hypercar field in one shot. Well, these gaps are a lot closer in GT3 as well. Both classes, the two leaders had pretty much just gone up the road, except Vince Costa, who made a mistake there, lost 2 seconds, I think, to Trecciani. But in the LM GT3, there's close fighting all over the place, with only 5/10 between Kevin Kienbaum and Bram van der Tang. So van der Tang now falling back as well. This guy, though, Pescatori in the 59 McLaren, just driving away a 10th and 7 hundredths of a second, 17 hundredths of a second quicker than Kevin Wendele. The last lap puts in his fastest lap of the race. However, Kevin Wendele also puts in the fastest lap of the session. So both of these guys are looking very quick and comfortable out there in these current conditions. We'll have to keep a close eye on those two, how they're progressing. Come the rest of this race on board now with the Peugeot of Daniel Maas. We've spoken about him just earlier. The Peugeot really working well in these conditions, and as Simon said, Spa is quite a similar track compared to Le Mans as to what type of cars work well on it. So it's not really any surprise that the Peugeots do work well. Mark Umhoff again setting a fastest lap time at 2:19.7. Very quick indeed. It's when Kolman has passed Zupan there in the Cadillac. Kolman back up into P6 then. I think that's the place where he qualified as well. So it's all slowly coming back to where it all started in the hypercar field after some earlier overtaking. It is Kienbaum getting past Bram van der Tang as well, I think, as we're trying to get a replay of that in just a moment. Meantime, we can look at this wonderful pit box. Oh, that's Bartolin, I think. As we are hearing that our broadcast is having some issues with the game itself, so we'll figure it out as we go. It's just it doesn't matter all that much. We're just trying some new things out as always. I will keep reminding you back at home for every race we do, we have a whole new broadcasting package in terms of graphics system. Everything you see is pretty much different compared to how it was. So we're still learning, we're still trying new things out. As you can see, we have some new things on here as well. The current timing, the weather, the track status, the fastest lap graphic, etc. So it's still a very evolving graphic package, to say the least. So we're still trying to learn as we go. So if there are any errors or mistakes or things not working the way it should, then be not afraid, we are working on it, and we'll try to get it fixed for the next round. Of course, if you have any ideas or suggestions or tips or whatever for us that we might be able to introduce in the graphics, then please feel free to tell us in the YouTube chat. We enjoy reading it, and we enjoy your suggestions. We might be able to do something with it. Crucially, looking at the weather graphic, it now says overcast. So I think, also based on the wipers, despite the 80% chance of rain, I think, Simon, we're looking at a drying track slowly but surely. It's still extremely wet. That's a big move by Daniel Maas. He's luckily not to take out a championship leader, but has to do a lot of work all over again. But Simon, do you think we might very slowly be moving towards a dry-ish race?
Yeah, definitely very possible. That we're gonna get a dry race at the end, or maybe in a half an hour or so. We might see some slicks getting put on. but it's only very wet now, so it's drying up really quick, and it's not very surprising, is it, when there's I don't know how many cars. I'm gonna think it's about 30, so this much cars driving on a track, then the track drives itself pretty quickly, I would say. So I can definitely see a dry race coming our way. And as one thing I saw, that Daniel Messon is really fast in corners and braking zones, but he cannot get the throttle down at the exits and on the straight. So that's what's stopping him from overtaking Tresane and maybe going for Kossa as well. So a very interesting thing I just noticed while you were saying about the graphics.
Yeah, that is very interesting indeed. That's the first traffic round coming up. As we see one of the Cadillacs coming through this the back of the LM GT3. Of course, traffic always playing a huge part in endurance racing, and especially with these tricky conditions, it's very easy to make a big mistake and will cost you pretty much the entire race. So a lot of caution is required by both of the classes, as that's the Cadillac coming, or the BMW, apologies, of Emmanuel Sawyer coming through. But yes, I was saying that is interesting to note. Of course, the Peugeot we kind of expected to be quick on the back straight, so I think he would have put on some extra downforce then in order to combat the slippery conditions in the Peugeot, get a bit more grip on there, and try and deal with the lack of straight line speed. As Kevin Keeldown has now set the fastest lap time in LMGT3, currently in 4th. Oh, that's Sawyer in the pit. We did just hear that he had a crash, so that's him down in 11th then, behind the other BMW. So with Kevin Keelbaum having a bit of a move up, so now in 4th position. The gaps are coming down ever so slightly in LMGT3, so that will be interesting to keep an eye on if Kevin is able to find a bit more pace in the drier conditions, I should say. It's still very wet, as you can see on track, but it will slowly start to dry out over the next half an hour or so. We might see a bit of dry running as well come the end of it. And we'll see who benefits from that and who doesn't. Kevin is seemingly one of the drivers who might benefit from that. Giacomi now trying to overtake Daniel Maassen again in the Peugeot. Of course, the Valkyrie is a very slippery car. It's really quick on the straight line, but it's not as quick through the corners as the Peugeot. So he has to get the job done on the back straight, I imagine. But Daniel Maassen defends it for now, but he is a bit under threat there by Giacomi in currently 5th positioned Valkyrie. The gaps again are coming down ever so slightly in the hypercar field. The overall of the gaps in between the drivers, so it's slowly coming back together a bit, mostly thanks to the traffic, I imagine. Here being held up quite a bit there, so already back to its second then between Giacomi and Daniel Maassen in the battle for P4. There's still an hour to go in this race, so 20 minutes done. And still pretty much all drivers are in one apiece for now. That's to our surprise, as we when we saw the immense rain coming out down on the track at the start of this race, but they're all behaving very well indeed.
Yeah, and exactly as you said, very surprising that a lot of these drivers just surviving. To be absolutely honest, I expected half of them just being nowhere to be seen after a Rouge. In conditions, I wouldn't be much surprised if everyone just, just took it on the exit road from the circuit, basically flying over the barrier. Nothing new at Eau Rouge and Spa-Francorchamps as well. So yeah, very behaved, and I think it's mostly by the gaps that are forming right now. Even the LMGT3 is kind of getting into their comfortable bubble, and the only close fight I can see, very, very close action there by Giacomi, right behind Masson. This is the only... Yep, he caught him on the straight there. I think Massen got slowed down in Eau Rouge by the GT3 there, which is not optimal, very suboptimal, as you could see, as we see some yellow flags in the sector 3, but it's quickly resolved, so nothing major. And you can just see the spray. It's really hard to see.
Oh, it spins!
Yep, exactly as I said. It's really hard to see. Giacomi just confirms it as he rams the back of that LMGT3 in that corner. And as we're trying to get the replay, but
The game is really not working
yeah,
in our favor. As we're having some technical issues, so stand by. We're trying to fix this as quickly as we can. So our broadcast having some technical issues, so we're stand by. We're trying to bring this to you as quickly as we can. We'll be right back with the race. But as you were saying, you went down the inside of Tom Villard, I think it was, into Rivage, and well, there was not really any gap to go there. So hitting the rear of the Porsche and just spinning around, which is a bit desperate, but also I think then a move you will see quite a lot in these conditions where every millisecond counts and you want to get ahead as much as you can.
Yeah, definitely. The time, even in that wet weather where you could see, you can make a bit more mistakes and just, still survive in my place. The time still counts, it still counts. And if there's someone behind you, even 3 seconds, it can make a huge difference, even into that Eau Rouge, as we saw with Massen and Giacomi. Massen just got stuck behind the LMGT3, or that is what I think. And he just lost out the whole camel, lost out the position and lost out how much time in that span of that kind of small straight. So, yeah, it's not very fun catching GT3s in the wrong time, especially in wet conditions.
And right on cue, we are back live in the Belgian Ardennes. So apologies for the quick interruption, but we are back with live pictures from Spa-Francorchamps. And it is still Mark Imhoff leading the pack in hypercar. We just did see Vitskoza just putting in the fastest lap of the race. So he is also finding some good pace then in these conditions where it's slowly drying up a little bit. There's still a lot of spray going on there at the rear of these hypercars and the GT3 cars as well. So it's nowhere near ready for the slick tires just yet. But it is good to know that it might end up drying a bit later on as we are on board with the Valkyrie of Rune Kolman. The striking blue-red livery. He is following Giacomi there for P6. So Kolman always having a bit of a cautious start. Of course, I know him quite well. He is my little brother after all. He's always a bit cautious on the start, and then trying to find some pace in the rest of the race. His best lap is only 2/10 slower than Giacomi, so he could be up challenging him for P6 just a little bit. I think Giacomi had a bit of an error somewhere, and Zupan got past both of these guys again. We just missed a couple of minutes ago. So Kolman has some work left to do. He's currently P7. He should be able to get past this, seeing how quick he is able to catch up to the Valkyrie up the road. So we'll keep this very close indeed. Imhoff now going purple again. It's a bit wide there for Giacomi coming through Blanchimont. And that Valkyrie really not happy in these conditions. He is dropping back quite a bit there compared to the other Valkyrie. Mark Imhoff at 2:16, so the track really is getting quicker now. That's 3 seconds quicker than he was about 3 laps ago. So it's slowly but surely getting a lot quicker in this session, with the track drying up ever so slightly. 53 minutes and 35 seconds left to go, so we're about half an hour in this race, the 4th round of the VMS Bronze Split, the 3rd sprint race of the season. And it's still a long old way to go, but we are technically halfway through the season already. Believe it or not, it's going rather quickly this time around. There's still a lot of racing left to go, of course, with 4 rounds, but we are halfway through, which is very, very exciting indeed. There's still a lot to play for, especially in the hypercars in the Bronze Split. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere and keep following the VMS as much as you can. There's still a lot of action left on the board. We're on board with the current third placed Porsche 992. He got passed by Tom Villard there. Tom Villard very quick indeed in these conditions in the other Porsche 992, and trying to close that gap to Pescatori. It was about 3 seconds early on. It's only a second and a half now. So both of these Porsches are looking very quick indeed compared to the McLaren. And the McLaren, of course, got a bit of a buff a couple of weeks ago with the new BOP update. And Pescatori, he is still leading, but he might be struggling here ever so slightly in these conditions. You can see the spray is already a lot less than it used to be about half an hour ago. So he might be hoping for some dries, or he might just be hoping for it to start raining again, given that he had a lot of pace in the earlier very slippery conditions. So we'll see if these gaps close down any more within the next couple of laps. These two are still fighting out on track. It's still very close, especially in lap times as well. Cossack going purple again, going white again through Blanchimont. It's kind of a same thing that happened last lap. And Giacomi just about quick enough to fend off the other Valkyrie. I can imagine, Simon, that this is very frustrating, knowing that you're a bit quicker than the guy up ahead, but also knowing that the machinery that you're in is the same. I think that's the most difficult position you can be in order to find a bit more to find the overspeed that you need to get past the guy in front of you. I think that is probably very, very difficult indeed.
Yeah, definitely. You know, this happens a lot in these quote-unquote spec series where you kind of have closer regulations together. And they're in the same machinery as you said, so let's throw that out of the window. But, you know, you're just 10th faster than the guy ahead, 2/10, you know, right behind him. You cannot do really anything about it. It's really hard to get close. You just really have to hope that he does some kind of mistake that you can just go off of, exactly as Kolman just tries to go side by side into no-name corner, and now side by side into Puhorn. Very close action between these two Valkyries. Now Giacomi on the inside. Kolman is gonna try to still stick it round the outside in Puhorn. What a job these two are putting on, and what a show. Really close battle there, and definitely very nicely did without any contact whatsoever. But very close action as Rune Kolman just tries to send it, but it normally does not work into Stavelot as we go onto the side through curved Colfrea. Now into Blushimon. Is Rune Kolman close enough to just, you know, send a little bit of a sniff down the inside? Could be a very possible thing that will happen here, but I think he's just too far back once again.
Yeah, great battling between the two. Aggressive defending from Giacomi, but just about within the rules from what I could see. So Kolman has to do it on pace alone. He has to force him into a mistake and get past as quickly as he can. Speaking of battles, Villard and mistakes. There we go. Pescatori going off track through Stavolo. And that's Tom Villard now on the outside into Blanchimont, the Porsche 992 driver, having the run on the McLaren. The McLaren very strong still on the straight line speed. And then around the outside into Blanchimont. Tom Villard in the Porsche goes a bit off track, but he makes it stick. Villard around the outside and Blanchimont on the inside of the bus-up chicane. Can he get the move done? Surely now. That's around now the McLaren of Pescatori around the outside into the bus-up chicane. The 59 remains ahead of the 71 Porsche. Side by side now into turn 1 on the back straight. And surely this time around it's job done by Tom Villard. He's very late on the brakes for the Porsche. Goes in way too deep there into turn 1. And Pescatori now in front of him once again. great fighting between these two drivers, leaving each other just enough room on the road. And Willard has a lot of work to do now once again, even after that very ballsy move around the outside into Blanchimont. It's a great run up into Eau Rouge. And it's Pescatori going through the wet patch there, trying to cool down his tires, I think, just a bit. The spray is a lot less than it used to be, so he has to cool down the tires ever so slightly. Potentially a move into Lecombe on the inside. Tom Willard now is just a bit too far back this time around in the 71, so he has to back out for now. Pescatori is still able to defend his P1 as it stands, but Tom Willard is knocking on the door. He wants to get past as quickly as he can. Wendele in third there, also just looking for these two guys to make a mistake and get past as quickly as he can. There is a mistake once again of Pescatori going deep into Rivage. That's Tom Willard now on the outside into No Name. And I think he is still there. He makes it stick. He is still there now on the outside into Puyol. That's also not a place you want to be, as you just saw with the two Valkyries. Pescatori in a McLaren on the inside. He remains there, but still side by side, and around the outside he goes into Puyol, and Willard does make it work. So that's a great move there by the Porsche. He takes the lead from the McLaren, and the blue Porsche 992 gets the job done around the outside in Pouillon, and we have a new race leader in the LM GT3. It's a giga move there by the Porsche. And now Corbinian Wendele wants to get the job done as well. That McLaren is really struggling in these conditions. And he could very well put a nose up here into one of the Stavolo corners. He doesn't do it just yet. But I think, Simon, this is just a matter of minutes before Wendele gets past as well.
Yeah, definitely. An absolutely beautiful move around the outside in Pouillon, and very close door-to-door battle between those two. Absolutely beautiful to watch. But yeah, it's just gonna be about time till Wendele can get past this McLaren. If he just puts the foot down a bit more, I think he'll be able to do it after some of the straights. These Porsches look very fast in these conditions, so we might see something interesting, as we see actually Keybaum now setting the fastest lap with track drying. He might be able to join this fight if it goes for too long, as well as the last fight before. So we're on for some really good showing.
Yeah, we sure are. And it is, as we get notified by our broadcaster, as you can see, the track is now set to damp. And this could be the moment where some of our drivers are going for slick tires. This is the crossover point for these hypercar and LMGT3 tires. Aim of going purple again at a 215, and it's looking quicker and quicker out there. So we'll probably potentially see a couple of drivers opting in to go for a bit of a strange strategy here. It's going very deep there for one of the I think that's Shani there on the left hand side, getting past then. There might have been a back marker as well in the hypercar. I think it was a back marker, so no harm done there. But it's on the inside of Giacomi. It's a long way back, but it makes it stick. Zupan gives him the room, and that leaves the door open for Rune Kolman and the Valkyrie as well now on the back of the yellow Cadillac. A giga move by Giacomi on the inside of turn 1, out of nowhere really. A long way back. Zupan gives him the room just about, and he makes it stick. Giacomi up into 5th with a great move into turn 1. And that still does leave him vulnerable up into Lecombe now. The Cadillac goes back at him. The yellow Cadillac on the outside, the left-hand side of your screen, tries to go around the outside of the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie goes very defensive, and he remains in 5th for now. So a great move by Giacomi, and he makes it work. And Zupan now under attack by the other Valkyrie. Oh no, he spins! Renault Kolman on the 24 Valkyrie spins around after contact with Zupan. I think he didn't really have any room to go there. Zupan, he was there. A bit of an opportunistic move there by the Valkyrie driver. Spins around, loses a lot of time to the cars up the road. And I have to say, it's a bit of a big error there by Renault Kolman. And he loses about 10 seconds to the guys up the road, right up front of Jeremy Barrault now. Again in P7. So he tried to go for it, but it didn't work out this time around, unfortunately for him. So he has a lot of work to do now up ahead. Still a long way to go, though. 43 minutes left in this race, so it's not over yet for anyone. Speaking of not over yet, Pescatori is still hanging on for in P2 on Corbinian and Vindelli, the championship leader in LM GT3, as Simon and I just mentioned. The Porsche is really strong in these conditions. Same for Kevin Kienbaum, who he is still in P4 there in the Lexus. Found some life again in that Lexus car after a disaster start. The Kolman is now trying to fight his way back up the lead in LM GT3. Both Lamborghinis in LMG3 falling back quite a bit, about 5 seconds now. And it's... As I can just hear our podcast again having some struggles. We're trying to find another battle out of track. This is what I was talking about earlier with the graphic is not working always as we want it to be. So hang on as we're trying to give you the views of everything that is going on. So even if we might not be able to see it, do keep an eye out on the graphic there on the left hand side of your screen. We will be able to see if anyone tries to go, is opting to go for a pit stop here. We are within the pit window to go to the end of this race, well within the pit window, and the track is damp, so we might be seeing some cars going in for slicks rather sooner rather than later. We can really see the Cadillac of Zupan trying to cool down his tires as much as he can. We're now back again with GT3s. Hopefully this time the game allows us to stay with these guys. So far so good. So that's Vindelli trying to go for P2. Villard has just gone away up the road. The Porsche are really working well. And surely, Simon, this is a job done.
Never say never. It's Blanchimont and it's almost still wet Spa. So yeah, I thought this is gonna end very bad into Blanchimont, but Vindelli thinks better of it. You know, just keeping it behind. But now, you know, he kept it behind, he kept it safe, but he's got the Lexus up his gearbox. Is that a good thing? Hardly to say. If he does manage to overtake this McLaren, then yeah, definitely not a problem. But he still kind of struggles as he now sends down the inside into last source, and it looks like a very good move. Almost spinning it, but catching it at the very last second. And now he's gonna have some problems with the Lexus behind. I could imagine with that bad of an exit, but a very good send, just not a very great exit out of La Source. And that's all work lost. He'll have to gain it all back again. With the Lexus breathing down his neck now into Lecombe. Is the Lexus gonna try anything? Maybe around the outside. Oh, that was a bit of a moving counter braking from the Porsche there. I'm not surprised by that reaction from the Lexus. It was not on moving that very late into the braking zone.
Yeah, Vindelli remains ahead of Kevin Kienbaum for now. Kienbaum really finding some pace again in that Lexus now that the track has started to dry. Still 40 minutes left to go, so he could still be on for a great result there. He got pole position and then just had no pace, but he is looking very quick now indeed in that Lexus car. So there's still a lot of work to do. Tom Willard, as you just saw, putting the fastest lap again for LM GT3, so the Porsche are still really working well. So see, that's the lead in the hypercar. Mark Imhoff coming through in the Peugeot, getting held up really badly there by Pescatori in the McLaren 720S. So the leader probably not too happy with that in the hypercar category, but he has to deal with it no matter what. So he is still leading 4 seconds ahead of Vince Costa, who's 3 seconds up the road for Tricciani. So those gaps are extending just ever so slightly again. And I think the coming pit stops that we will be seeing coming in, I would guess within the next 10 minutes or so, are going to play a crucial part in this race. You can see that the dry line really has formed there. You can see that the darker line on track, that's the drier line that these drivers are looking for. It's a very aggressive move. Vince Cossa puts his Porsche between the two GT3 cars, makes it work. Could have died very easily there, to be honest, but he manages to stay on track. And nobody going into the pit lane for now, but Vince Cossa coming through, trying to lose as little time as possible. Vela putting in yet another fastest lap. And there's Keeban trying to cool down his weather tires as well. So it's really a matter of survival then at these stages. I think most of these guys are trying to get to the end of their virtual energy tank and trying to lose as little time as possible in the pit stop phase. You want to, of course, be in the pit lane as little as you can, be stationary as little as you can. So the longer you can stay out, the better it is for your race. So I think it's just a matter of survival and keeping your tires in the correct operating window. And for a lot of these guys, you can see a lot of hypercars also trying to cool down their tires, but there's very little water left on track. It says it's damp, but it's getting very, very close to to dry weather, to a dry track here shortly. Almost no spray left there on this track. So I think surely, Simon, we're going to have to see some of these drivers coming in within the next 7 or 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, definitely, but you do feel safe a lot since we started on a very bad track, extremely wet even, so you do save like tons of fuel. Even with fighting, you know, you have to lift a bit more, so definitely they will have to come in eventually. I would say, I would see it for like in the next 10 minutes everyone's gonna done their pit stop. Wouldn't be very surprised by that. I don't definitely see anyone carrying this till the end. It's just not very possible, is it? So yeah, I could see some slicks coming in. The track looks very dry almost, so wouldn't be too surprised if these drivers are just staying out waiting for that slick crossover. As Wendella is still fighting with Pescatore, the McLaren just kinda stopped working since the tracks just stopped being very bad. So yeah, it does not look good for Pescatore. He was leading such a good race, you know, just the McLaren falling off. Maybe he is falling off. Hard to tell at this stage. But Wendella needs to get past if he wants to maybe challenge Willard, but I think it's too late for that as well now. So he needs to get past in order to defend from Keybound, but he's just getting close enough, but just not that close enough. He needs to do. Now heading into Eau Rouge and Camel Straight, we might see some action from these two into Le Combe, but it seems like the McLaren just has that much better downforce through that Eau Rouge, so nothing doing there from Wendella.
I'm just looking at the virtual energy at the left-hand side of your screen. I'm honestly surprised with how much VE all of these guys have left. Especially Den is the first LM GT3 driver to get into the pit lane, so I'm assuming he is taking the gamble and going for those slick tires as I'm trying to tell my story. He is rudely interrupting me there. I was just kind of, yeah, there we go, he's on mediums now, so I'm very surprised to see how much virtual energy these guys have left. So there's still a long way to go on those energy tanks if they want to stick it out if they want to stick it out as long as they can with these on those wet tires. Kevin Kienbaum going off track there. I think it's a yellow flag. He's now on P6, so Kienbaum losing a lot of places there again. After making up quite a lot of time, as Wendella goes down the inside there, has a look into Pouillon, but he doesn't make it stick for now. Down the inside again. Whoa, there's contact with McLaren, but Pescatore spins around yet. Two in the going into the corner doesn't really work, unfortunately, there, and into Le Fond. That's massive contact between Wendella and Pescatore, the two leaders in the LMGT3 championship. We're trying again to get a replay of that, but I think the system really isn't working well tonight, unfortunately. So we apologize for that. Unfortunately, no replay of that. But Wendella making contact with Pescatori in the McLaren, and that's disastrous then for the number 2 in the LMGT3 standings. I would imagine stewards have a look at that after this race, and that's Pescatori now just ahead of Bram van der Tang in the Lamborghini. He is still there in P4, just ahead of Van Nimmen as well, and he wants to get a piece of this McLaren as quickly as he can. It's Barrault coming through as well in the Valkyrie, and gets the job done nicely. Yep, he does, very clean indeed. So Pescatori a long way back now on Wendelle. Villaert is in the pit lane. The leader in LMGT3 is in the pit lane. He takes the gamble as the first of the leaders, going to the slicks, I imagine. Same for Kevin Kienbaum, also going to the slicks. So 2 of the front runners going a bit earlier than the rest of the field. That's Ferraz also coming in the Porsche. So those guys are the first, after Patrick Den, in the LMGT3 field to come in and make the change to the dry weather tires. Now the question is, who is going to be the first to do so in the hypercar field? Still no pit stops in that field so far, so there's a lot to gain, a lot to lose. But surely this is the moment to go for it. It's so dry out there, there's almost no water left on track, and you're just going to lose a heap of time now if you stay out any longer on these tires. My broadcaster still thinks it's a bit too early, so we'll see who got that right after the race. But Simon, what do you think? Is it a bit? Who do you side with? Do you side with me or a broadcaster?
I don't really know, but the one thing I'm very confused by is Tom Willard taking the gamble, even though he was leading by, what was that, 8 seconds? Normally as a leader, when you're leading like with this tons of time, do you want to take that gamble? Is it really worth it to take that gamble and maybe lose the loads of more positions when you can just repeat a lap after what the guys behind you did? I just find it very strange, but I wouldn't be very surprised if it's too early still. So I'm siding with the broadcaster now for now. You know, especially these curbs, you know, they're like sponges. They just take the water and it takes so long for them to dry out. So they're very dangerous to drive on right now. So yeah, not very good. As we see Van Niemann now very close to Pescatori, trying to go around the outside. There's a contact under braking into the bus stop. Now going onto the pit straight, but no doing here. I don't know if that was a moving under braking from the McLaren, but it was a very close action, as we actually see some of the hypercars now pitting as well. So now the strategies are getting very split with half an hour go in this race.
Yep, Daniel Maassen, Barrault and Zupan in the pit lane in the hypercar. Those 3 going to the slicks. Same for Corbinian Wendelle. He was then leading after Tom Willard made his pit stop. Now it is Pescatori again in the lead that you're seeing on screen, with Van Nimmen just behind him. Same for Bram van der Tang in the 3rd positioned Lamborghini Huracan. Those guys still on slicks. Same for Passierp in P4. So the top 4 in LMGT3 is yet to make a switch. This is Tom Willard. He was leading the race early on in the 71 Porsche, and now has a lot of work to do to get those tires up to temperature and get back in the lead of this race. His last lap was 10 seconds slower than his quickest lap time. So the tires, it really does take a long time in order to get it all working again. Actually, he gets jumped then by Corbinian Wendelle. Wendelle is in the lead. However, his tires are even colder than Tom Willard's. Last lap, Tom Willard was 4 seconds quicker than his best lap. So those slicks really are working, and that's surely going to be an easy pass there by Tom Willard, trying to get past Corbinian Wendelle. There he goes on the Camel Straight in the slipstream, and I think this is surely an easy pass by the blue Porsche 992 on the outside into Les Combes. See more hypercars getting the pit stops. Wendelle goes way too deep into Les Combes and has to give that position back to he braked on the wet line, so he lost it all there, and he has lost the net lead again to Tom Villard. Now in P5, Costa, Tracciani, and Giacomi, all of them going to soft tires in the hypercar field. Maas and Tsupan going to medium tires. So that's going to be interesting to see how those differences work out for those guys. Soft, of course, are a softer compound. They're easier to warm up. However, they don't last as long. Now, of course, it's just half an hour left. So it is a bit of a gamble there. I kind of have to side with the soft runners, to be honest, in hypercar. That is a good choice. So we'll have to see how that works out. This battle still going on for the lead in LMGT3. Pescatori defending still on both of the Lamborghini Huracans in the current lead in the GT3 field. Still going on though on the wet weather tires. They're still keeping them. Down the inside, Van Niemen. Bit of a contact there as it's Daniel Maassen going very deep into La Source on those slick tires. Not working well the mediums yet for the Peugeot driver. And way too deep there into the first corner. Pescatori is still in the lead in LMGT3. Van Niemen didn't make the move stick. And now on the Camel Straight again, he is in the slipstream, the number 80 Lamborghini. Surely this time around he can get the move done on McLaren. The McLaren has been struggling for a long time now. Around the outside he goes into Lecombe. Maassen on the inside of this battle, and he'll get past, no issue there. And Van Niemen around the outside into Lecombe. He gets the move done very nicely indeed on the McLaren, and that's Van Niemen now in the lead of this race. Of course, he still has to make a pit stop. 7% energy left. Pescatori 8%. Van der Tang also 8%. So they're still having to make a pit stop, but it's a great move there by Van Niemen. He gets his Lamborghini up in the lead of this race as Mark Imhoff also pits. This race is turning upside down, Simon. It's happening all over the place.
Yep, and this is what I've been talking about at the start of the race when you asked me, about the strategies. And this is exactly what happens when you have changeable weather. You don't even know where everyone comes out. I was still surprised with Tom Villard pitting that early, just taking the gamble. And of course, a lot of drivers repeated after him. And, he almost lost it to Windella. Thankfully, he had warmed up tires as he goes off the track now under pressure from that hypercar behind him. Not very surprised, it's a BMW. Yeah, he...
contact!
Yeah. Well, yep,
I lost spinning around.
Yeah, I lost words.
I'll take it. I'll just take it over quickly from you, and then we'll get back to you in just a second. I think that was Markowski spinning around in the BMW after making contact with Tom Villard. So that will be something the stewards might have a look at come the end of this race. As now finally they're coming in, the three leaders in LMGT3. Something our broadcaster just mentioned is, of course, Tom Villard will wear down his tires quite a bit more compared to these guys, so that might be something to take note of, and that might be something that is coming into play later on. Of course, there's still only 25 minutes left, so how much of a role that's going to play, we will wait and find out. But it is crucially, of course, tire wear means a lot across this race. There we go. This time a safe overtake for Markowski on Tom Villard. He will not be happy with that contact. So now it is crucial for Tom Villard. He is seeing the three drivers up the road in the pit lane. Of course, they're having a shorter stop compared to this guy. He came in early. He had to take on a lot more fuel compared to the three guys in the pit lane. So where does that leave him out on track? Pasjeb is still on the road. And there he goes. That is Pescatori in the fast lane. Coming into turn 1, and he might just about stay ahead of the Porsche. Yep, there he goes. He stays ahead just about of Tom Villard. However, Pescatori does have very, very cold tires, and it's still damp on track, so this will be very difficult indeed. This could be a similar situation with Combrini and Wendele that we just saw, but there we go. Tom Villard now in third, net third, behind Bram van der Tang. However, his Porsche is up and running very quickly indeed. This should be an easy run. There he goes. Before even the start of the Camel Straight, he gets up into a net P2 and now has a side on the McLaren coming into Le Con. The Porsche looking very quick indeed. You can see Pescatore weaving around, trying to get some temperature in there. And it is going to be very, very close indeed. It's just a matter of how quickly can you get the temperature in there. And defend on the Porsche. Well, I think, Simon, that question answers itself.
Yep, right, as you said that, the Porsche is clear of the McLaren into the next corner. Cold tires are not fun, let's just put it that way. But, a very good strategy. Still, I think Pescatore still made a better strategy call than Tom Villiard. Because he's gonna have a better tires now till the end. But the real question is it gonna make any difference with 23 minutes remaining?
Yeah, the thing that
our broadcaster is saying, I'm sorry for that pause in my sentence, as our broadcaster is saying that they still, as there's off track for Pescatore, as our broadcaster said that they still gained a huge amount of time, even if they're not ahead of Tom Villiard. So they still gained a huge amount of time to the other cars, which is completely right, with Bassier still having to pit, I think. I think I'm right. Yep, he still needs to pit. So he's gonna plumb down the field as he pits. So yeah, it's just a matter of time now as Kolman pits in that hypercar split.
That's a drive to Pescatore.
Drive through for Pescatore, so all that time he gained is for nothing anyways. And that's not very good, as Vendela now gets past Pescatore into La Source, I think. So very interesting things happening in these closing stages.
That's for sure. 21 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. A drive-through penalty then for Pescatore. He was briefly leading again to Tom Villiard, but then losing it all again over 7 seconds behind the Porsche, who is 46 seconds behind Bassier. So Bassier, of course, still has to make a pit stop, but that stop will be a lot shorter than the rest of the field. So we'll have to keep a close eye on how that works out for him. He might be able to jump some drivers then come the end of this race. It's Kevin Kienbaum getting past Van Nimmen there in the Lamborghini. He had a bad run there. On the inside, the Lexus forces the Lamborghini off track, and he gets the job done up into P6 then. Goes Kevin Kienbaum. After that, he had a good middle stint, but now dropping back again after the pit stop, so he won't be too happy with that, I imagine. Well, big slide there coming through Pouillon as well. Kevin Kienbaum really not working well with that Lexus, and now has the Lamborghini of Van Nimmen behind him again. He was able to gap him just a little bit, but it's still within 0.7 of a second, so he is not rid of him just yet. There goes Bassier into the pit lane for his final stop, and only stop, to be honest, of this race. There he is. We'll see where he comes out later on. That's Markowski in the pit lane as well. And there is Tom Villiard, the net race leader, we think, of LMGT3. That's Vanille, 8 seconds behind. And we'll keep a close eye on where Bassier comes out after all this into the bus stop. Still 14 seconds, the gap between Villiard and Bassier. And he's out of the pit lane already, I think. I think so. That's a giga strategy then by Bassier. He is 12 seconds up the road. Out of nowhere, there we go. So never mind net lead. Tom Villiard is in P2. He is still on the wets according to our sheet here. I'm not sure if it's he is still on he's remained on the wet weather tires. Simon, what's going on here? What do you think? Can this work, or is this just a gamble?
To be, I think it seems if he's on the wets, it might be a problem in the overlay, but let's just say theoretically, this might might just be a big brain move or the absolute flop of the season, but from what I can see, it's just working out in his favor. And what a strategy from Pasiep, and if he just carries this on, you know, I don't know if those wets are gonna last. They're cold now, so we won't see if they're faster or if they're the same pace as those tries. But it just seems that the wets are working for now, still in a pretty good window. So we might have just witnessed a big brain strategy, to be absolutely honest.
Now, don't mind the virtual energy, because the virtual energy only updates after completing one lap. So that won't update until he crosses the line again. So I think he would have had his virtual energy there, because it looked like a normal pit stop. So I think he is good to go to the end. But it's indeed, it's either a giga strategy or the biggest flop of the whole season. But right now, he is leading by 11 seconds. And we'll just have to keep a close eye on the gap and see if it comes down anything. It's not 10.8, 10.6. It's just fluctuating just a little bit. But we'll just have to keep an eye on how quickly this comes down. And if he has any pace left in the wet tires, it's back up to 10.3 now. So it's a strange one, this. He isn't looking that slow, I guess, out on track. It's not looking all that quick either. I think the slicks are definitely quicker, but there's 10 seconds. Yeah, I think Tom Villard will close that gap just about. There's about 8 laps, 6, 7 laps to go in this race, but it's 2 seconds a lap. Yeah, I think Tom Villard might be able to catch him. But he could be on for a podium here if he's able to keep on this pace. Pescatori now does get his drive-through in, but it's a giga strategy, and we'll just have to see how this works out in the next 16 minutes. It's a great job of Pasier, still 10 seconds ahead. I'm kind of flabbergasted here, to be honest, Simon. I'm not really sure what to say.
Yeah, it's a fair point to be, you know, just confused what's happening right now. But I think he should get caught by Villiard here in few moments, maybe. It really depends now on how much the track will dry up even more in the coming stages. But it just seems the gap is pretty stable so far, so Basarb just might have pulled the absolute big brain strategy move and just not gamble it, and this is exactly what I said. Tom Villiard just gambled it too early, even though he was in the lead, and he might just get beaten for it, basically. Yeah,
it's 9 seconds now. Yeah.
It's getting close, you know. Those wet tires will get used more easily on a dry track. So yeah, there's a lot of things to take into action, but you know, there's a huge amount of gap to P4. So podium for Pasier would still be absolutely beautiful as this Valkyrie. I think that's Giacomo. Just overtaking off track there, not expecting the Lexus to go on his racing line. Yep.
So we were talking about the strategy at the hypercars in terms of the softs and the medium, but now we're talking about wets and mediums in LMGT3. Well, how a race can change, that is for sure. It's It's a very interesting one, and it's still 8 seconds between the two, so he's not dropping back that massive, that big right now. But as our broadcaster mentioned to us just now, yeah, that's 2.5 seconds last lap. So the tires are probably not gonna last this entire rest of the stint. The wets, of course, they will be used a lot more as the temperature rises off the track. If he's not able to cool it down in wet patches, then well, you're not really able to use the tires to its advantage. So I think this gamble won't really work for him, but it's still very cool to see, and a big props to him for at least going for it and at least trying it. So it's very, very cool indeed, and always nice to see something different here at the VMS. Never a dull moment at the VMS, that is for sure. It's yeah, like I said, I'm a bit flabbergasted with what I'm seeing, but it's very, very cool, and hopefully inspires some other people to go for a bit of a weird strategy in the future as well. Yeah, it's especially in this sector, he's really struggling. It's very slow through here, trying to keep the tires alive. It's a good gamble, but it's not gonna pay off, unfortunately, for him losing 2.5 seconds each lap. The clock is not gonna run down quickly enough. So that is unfortunately for Pasiep. Still, his 5 seconds of fame in this race are well deserved, but I think 12 minutes to go is just a bit too long for him to remain in any contention for the lead or the win of this race. Now,
Yeah,
just a quick. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, these tires will just get worn very easily in a few laps, and the gap is just gonna fall down even faster and faster. At this point, yeah, he'll be happy to finish in the top 7 maybe, if that's possible. And maybe he didn't change tires. Would that be a possibility that he just tried to not change tires and just go for it?
I think that's what he did, yeah.
Yeah, that would explain the huge gap he has now. And I mean, he was somewhere, I think, P8. So even if he finishes again P8, I don't think he's finishing more down than that. He tried it, you know. No, not a bad strategy. He can only, I think, gain from this and not lose.
I think I'm gonna quickly check where he was before. I think he was in P7 before the pit stop. So yeah, just gonna quickly scroll back on the stream. Yeah, it was about P8, P7 then throughout the race. So he definitely made up quite a bit of time anyway with this strategy. So I think yeah, but I think a top 5 could be possible given how big the gaps are, especially between P3 and P4. It's about 7.5 seconds. So I think a top 5 could be possible, but it's gonna be very, very tricky indeed, and it's we'll have to wait and find out shortly, as we see multiple fastest laps now being set in the hypercar field as well. This is Tom Vela, by the way. He's now 2.5 seconds away from Pasiep, so he'll be overtaking him next lap, I'm sure. But the hypercar, we haven't really talked about the hypercar the last couple of minutes because there's not really anything going on, unfortunately. But quite a lot of big gaps there between the drivers. 10 seconds between Mark Imhoff and Vince Cosa. I spoke about it earlier. Mark Imhoff, he is in 13th in the standings, but he has shown great pace throughout the season already, and it's just a matter of time before he gets a good result in. Well, this time around, finally, he could be on for a good result. He got pole position in the number 2 Peugeot and is still leading after all the carnage that's been going on. So a very good drive indeed by him. 11 seconds of road on Vince Cosa, who is in 3rd in the standings and will be passing Giacomi then for the, as it stands, for at least P2. And he will be just behind Chani then for the lead of the championship, but he will move up into 2nd position as it stands in the hypercar general classification. Of course, there's still 10 minutes to go, so nothing set in stone just yet. Now then, Simon, I'm going to let you do the honors. I think this is a sad moment. We're going to see Passier being overtaken.
Yeah, Stomvelat now very close to Passier coming into Lecom. Just trying to fake him a bit, but you know, yeah, slam dunk move. Passier maybe just moving out of the way there. It seemed, you know, he tried to defend, but you cannot do anything on those worn wets now on a dry track. It's impossible, and this is every overtake that's gonna happen to Passier. It's gonna be pretty similar, or maybe even the same. As next in the lane is Vindella, 2 seconds off. Now only 1 and 8 seconds off. It's just coming down pretty shortly, you know. So yeah, Passier is just gonna plumb down the field now. But still, he can only gain from this. It seems funny now, you know. It seems like a bad strategy, but he can still only gain from this. I think he was P8. So, yeah, as our broadcaster says, it's possible P4, P3. I would more see like P5 possible. Yeah, as a slam dunk move with Vindella now. It should be into Blashamon, just around the outside. Yep. Well, Vindella just decided to make it more interesting and fly into the gravel and over the curb, but still a very nice overtake anyways. Yeah, just make it more interesting, you know. Just put on a show. You know, it's kind of boring in these later stages, so he just wanted to put on a show. As P6 has a drive-through. That's one Hyman has a drive-through, so that's one more possible place for Passier to basically get. He shouldn't fall down more than P5, so it's still a very beautiful result for such an audacious strategy he's trying to pull. 6.5 minutes remaining in this race.
Yeah, audacious is the correct term there indeed. He's still in third, but losing about 5 to 6 seconds each lap now. So I think he's just looking at the time remaining and he's just, come on, be quicker. Let's go quicker. Just let the timer run down. I need this to end and come to a halt. It's about 5.5 seconds now between him and Bram van der Tang. So I think it's I think a podium is going to be a bit too optimistic for him, but it's still better than what he had. Remember, he was in P7 before the pit stop phase, so he still gained quite a bit from it. It's just a matter of keeping it on track and try to minimize the damage as much as he can. Other than the likes of Pescatori and Van Dimmen, both of them serving a drive-through penalty in this race, still in P6 and P7. But both of them could have ended up quite a bit higher, I imagine. There is one Van der Tang, the other Lamborghini Huracan. This one staying out of trouble, luckily, but Van Dimmen, he could have scored a P5, top 5 easily. Same for Pescatori, who could have been on the podium this race had it not been for that earlier drive-through penalty. So unlucky for both of them. We spoke about the track limits earlier on, and it's come back to bite them, unfortunately. You just saw the overall leader, Mark Imhoff, making his way through on Van der Tang. There we go in the foreground of your screen. 9 seconds between him and Vince Cosa, still leading comfortably indeed in the Peugeot. And he's been looking dominant throughout the whole race, really. Never really under threat of losing that lead. And they lost a bit of time last lap to Vince Cosa, but I imagine just because of some traffic happening here and there. Nothing too major going on there. He remains in the lead. There is Pescatori in the what could have been for Pescatori. He was up there fighting all race really for P2 and P3. but unfortunately just dropped back when the track dried up. Could it have been a setup choice there, Simon? Is it possible that he saw the dry weather coming in and he chose for a different setup there?
I think it's the other way around actually. He saw that it's just gonna be very wet and just went for a wet setup. As we could have seen, that McLaren just lost all credibility as soon as it started to get a bit more dry actually, or when the track was just wet. The McLaren just kind of stopped working, it seemed. So I think he's running big downforce on that McLaren, which is not helping in dry conditions, but it definitely helps a lot in wet conditions. But yeah, I think it's just a wet setup which he tried, and it did not pay off as he would have imagined. You know, he still would be up there, you know, P4, P5, I would imagine. But that drive-through just did him no right by any means there.
Yeah, for sure. He was right up there at the Euro stages, but it's like you said. I said it the wrong way around. Of course, he went for more of a wet setup, and it didn't pay off. Unfortunately for him, these two though, these two really have been the stars of the show in LM GT3. And as our broadcaster but likes to remind us of, this could be a factor of tire wear. Tom Vellard has dropped back quite a bit to Vindele. It's 2 seconds last lap, so that could also have been a mistake or some traffic here and there. But the battle for the lead in LM GT3 is back on. It's 0.6 of a second between the two Porsches, and it's only 1 lap to go for these guys, I think, or 2 maximum. But it's just only a couple of moments left to go in this race. We see the Cadillac of Zupan going off track there in the bus stop. He's down P9, unfortunately enough for him. There's his Bram van der Tong around the outside of Passierp, still on the wets in his 79, the 97, apologies. No, 79, I didn't say it correctly. He is defending it though on the Lamborghini Huracan, but the Huracan just a bit quicker there on the slick tires. Zupan having to hold back in the Cadillac, and that's Passierp now in 4th position. Zupan around the outside, going off track to pass the Lexus as well. Passierp now being under Dermot Kienbaum. He'll get past him rather shortly, I imagine. I think it's safe for P5 then, with 18 seconds to Van Nimmen. So there he goes in P5. So a memorable drive then by Passierp, which will, as it stands, end in a P5. And Giacomi is in the pit lane as well. Maybe an issue with Zupan. We saw both of them causing the yellow flag into the bus stop chicane, so potentially an issue there for him, or repairing some damage. Oh, Vella going off track, and Vindele coming through for the lead of LM GT3. Out of nowhere, really, an unforced mistake for Tom Vellard into Pugnon, losing the lead then to Corbinian Vindele, who takes the lead in LM GT3. And really unfortunate for Tom Vellard, and really out of nowhere, Simon. This should not have happened, I think, for Tom.
Yeah, definitely. And this is all the things we basically managed to say here. You know, he took the gamble. He pitted really early with those tires. You know, lost the lead for a bit from Pescatore, but regained it because of cold tires. And now there's the effect of worn tires, and that choosement of that strategy, just trying to gamble and get more gallop, but it just didn't work out. As you can see, he's losing loads of time, even in the bus stop, just lost 3/10, or yeah. So yeah, it's worn tires, and he's just gonna lose this race on the last lap, unfortunately, basically. So it's not gonna be a happy afternoon and evening for Tom Vellard, but yeah, just a wrong strategy.
Yep, well, one guy who will be very happy after all this is this guy, Mark Imhoff. He is on the final lap of this race. The clock has come down to 0. He just about started one final lap after setting a purple lap time. Last lap as well, coming through Pouillon for the final time in this race. Lapping Mastellari and Giacomi as well for a final time. So they'll be happy that their races come to an end this time around as well. For the final time coming through sector 2 up towards the final sector, the flat out way to the start finish straight. And Mark Imhoff really driving a phenomenal race, no mistakes, no errors, just disappearing up the road. 8 seconds between him and Vince Cossa in the Porsche 963. Both of them going on that soft tire, which really has proven out to be the correct choice there for these drivers. Mark Imhoff 13th in the standings, but this result will move him right up. He makes his way through the bus-up chicane for one final time, and he's your winner in the hypercar class in the 4th round of the Bronze VMS Contender Series. And Vince Cossa then coming over the line in P2 in the Porsche 963. Both of them driving phenomenally all race. And this guy, Corbinian Wendele, stealing the lead from Tom Velat on the final lap of the race as well, the second to last lap of the race as well. 5 seconds now between the two. Tom Velat, I think, has a bit of an issue there going on in that Porsche, really not looking happy and dropping back quite significantly to Wendele, who will come home then to take yet another victory in the bronze split. He extends his championship lead. A dominant victory for the Fischer Racing Team Porsche 992, and he, well, like I said, he extends his championship lead ever more. He is very happy about it, as you can see. A phenomenal drive by Corbinian Wendele. Tom Velat comes home in P2, still a great drive nonetheless. Bram van der Tang then scoring his second podium of the season, a P2 in Bahrain, now a P3 in Spa. He'll be happy with that after the DNF in Le Mans 2 weeks ago. As I'm being told, Villa. Oh, that is what's the issue there. Tom Velat crossed the line at 0% virtual energy, so he had a virtual energy issue there, which caused him to slow down and basically lose this race. So luckily for him, no penalty come the end of it. But well, he won't be happy with that. That's for sure. So disaster for Velat, losing the lead, this victory. On a miscalculation on the fuel. That's a disaster for him, but still a podium for him nonetheless. He'll be happy with that. Oh, that's I don't think that the dealer will take that when you return that to him. That's not a
straight to
great
mechanics.
That's it. Back to the drawing board for Markowski. He is still out on track though. He wants to get to the finish line. But a disastrous race there for the number 10 BMW.
Believe in him. He's gonna get there in the meantime.
We're gonna see him crossing the line while we're talking you through the final results of this race. It is Mark Imhoff taking the win then in the hypercar category, with Vince Cossa coming home in second position. The gap was a bit bigger than 0.04 of a second. That's just the graphic. He's flashing the lights as well. He's very happy.
He's done it! He's done it!
He's done it. Applause to him. He comes over the line. Congratulations to you. Vince Cossa in the Porsche coming home in second, with the Cadillac in third. Daniel Maassen in P4 in the end in the second Peugeot. Great result by him. Rune Kolman in fifth. The first of the Valkyries then, after some issues for both Barrault and Giacomi. Barrault in P6 then, just behind Rune Kolman. Demolien, we haven't really seen him all race. We haven't really spoken about him, but he did come home in P7 then in the Toyota. Some good points on the board in that car that doesn't really seem to work well in basically any split at this point. So good result by Demolien. Giacomi in P8 then in the end after that late pit stop. We're assuming it because of damage, but we're not really sure. Not really sure what happened there. Tsupan in P9 in the Cadillac, and Sawyer running up the top 10 in the BMW with the fastest lap going to Vince Cossa as well at 2:03.2. Very quick indeed. Markowski then, he does come over the line 4 laps down, but he did manage to get there in the BMW. He is the final finisher of this race with 4 DNFs And then in the hypercar field, looking at the LM GT3 standings, it is Corbinian Wendele getting the victory. He extends his championship lead, and I can already see him in the interview box, so we'll talk to him shortly. Tom Velaert in second position after that late struggle with the Virtual Energy. Bram van der Tang, his second podium of the season. He will be happy with that in the Lamborghini Huracan, with Kevin Kienbaum in fourth after getting pole position. So I don't think you'll be too pleased with that. Passier, then the hero of tonight, sticking with those wet weather tires and gaining 2 places while doing so. In the second Lexus, he comes home in P5 with Van Nimmen in P6, Pescatori in the McLaren in P7, with Ferraz in P8 in the Porsche, Favero P9, and Mastellari comes home in P10. With Ferraz also claiming the fastest lap with a 222.2, so very good stuff indeed. With Dan, Brooke, Monrose, and Wipf either not participating or finishing this race. I'm starting to lose my voice. That's not a good thing. Anyway, we have some post-race interviews to do, Simon. I'm gonna let you do the honors. Who do you want to start out with?
Let's do Vendela.
Let's do Wendele. We're gonna start with the winner in LM GT3 for tonight. Corbinian, thank you very much for joining us once again in the commentary booth. Congratulations again on a victory, your third of the season. Is this going a bit too easy to your liking, or are you just happy that that you're winning all these races in a row?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much. Today I had to work for the win. Really not easy, especially in the rain. And overtook Wildart, I think, 2 or 3 laps from the end.
Yeah, I think Tom Velaert had a bit of an issue with this virtual energy and not lasting long enough. Did you see that beforehand? Did you see him being a short field, and were you like, well, I can get it then, or were you still a bit nervous about it?
I saw that he had quite a bit less than I had in terms of fuel, but I knew it was right on the edge. Maybe he would make it, maybe he wouldn't make it. In the end, he had to save fuel, so I got him in the end.
Well, I'm just looking at the championship standings, and I think you're well over 30 or even 40 points clear of the next rival in Q2. So you're having a bit of a gap there already halfway through the season. Are you just gonna relax and just finish every race for now, or are you still gonna do everything you can to win it?
Obviously, I want to win, but I'm not gonna risk everything in every race from now on.
No, that sounds like a good shout. Simon, did you have any questions for Corbinian here tonight?
Yeah, no questions. Just congratulations. A really good race tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corbinian, for joining us once again. It's been a phenomenal drive, even though you had to work for it. You really did, and you got what you deserved. So congratulations again from both of us, and hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone.
Yeah, thank you. Have a nice evening. See you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. Have a nice evening to you. And I think we're going to Bram van der Tang, third placed in the LM GT3 field. Good evening, Bram. Congratulations on your second podium of the season. It looked difficult out there, so you must be very happy with that.
Yeah, in the rain, I'm so bad. So yeah, happy that I keep the car on track. I was happy if I finish this race. So yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, we're hearing our broadcaster already very happy because she's a dedicated Lamborghini driver as well. Can you explain a little bit about that? Why did you go for the Lamborghini? It doesn't really look like the quickest car out there, but you're still sticking with it.
Yeah, I love that car. Yeah, so
if
I can get pace out that car and other cars not, so yeah, then it's not that hard to choose.
That does sound like a fair choice indeed. So were you expecting, like you said, you were kind of just hoping to survive this race? So I take it you were not really suspecting or expecting a podium finish here tonight.
No, I expect a DNF.
Well, luckily for you, it's it's a whole different thing, indeed. Simon, did you have any questions here tonight for Bram?
Well, no questions. Just congratulations on the podium and not the anything, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Bram, and hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone as well.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice evening. We'll see you.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right, then we are. You want to choose the next one again?
Oh, let's go with Winsett Gonza.
I'll just drag him right in. We are now joined by Vince Cossa. Good evening, Vince. Once again, a P2 in your Porsche in the end. Given how quick Mark Imhoff was tonight, are you happy with that P2, or did you think you could get one better?
Well, good evening, guys. Yeah, I was quite happy, to be honest, to manage to get to P2 directly with the qualifying session first. So I trained a lot under the rain, and I was really happy to start P2. Of course, I would have loved to start P1, and I wanted to get back to P1. And battling with Mark at the beginning of the race, but he had a strong pace, a very strong pace, and it was great to get into a battle against him. And then, yeah, I was really glad to be able to keep the P2. The Porsche was a bit tricky at the start when it was extremely wet, but I managed to stay on track. At the end, there was question mark regarding the track limits points, because I was close to get to the 3 points limit, so to get a drive-through penalty. I didn't want to get one before the end, so my main objective was to keep the pace and stay on the podium.
Yeah, we saw multiple drivers getting track limits throughout the race. How difficult is it, especially with the rain, to keep your car within the white lines? How difficult is that for you?
Well, it was really tricky because, of course, you have Eau Rouge Rédillon, which is the main, I would say, difficulty over there, the main issue, because you can get so easily out of track, and you have so much speed at that moment, and it's really tricky, and you have to be really careful and really mindful as well regarding the car and your feelings of the car, how it's going to slide and how much sliding you're going to accept throughout the track. And it's a really big issue as well with the traffic. You have to be really careful with the traffic, and the Eau Rouge is, of course, the main issue, I would say, of the track, and the main difficulty over there with the traffic. So it's always like, you always have to keep in mind that there is a track limit, points limit here on the track, and you have to deal with it. And sometimes maybe to drive like to 90% of what you can do in order to avoid track limits, and it's better to stay on track than to get a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, for sure. Luckily, you were able to avoid that tonight. Simon, did you have any questions for our P2 finisher?
I think he said everything. Congratulations on the podium, mate.
Thank you very much, guys, and thank you for the guest as well.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight again, Vince. Just looking very strong in the championship still with the P2. So it's still a lot to play for within the next 4 rounds. So hopefully we will see you in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone, and you'll be able to recreate your result yet today, or even one better.
I hope so. I can't wait to get into battle with Ciociani and Eduardo as well.
Great stuff. So we will see you then. Until then, have a good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Yeah.
And our final interview will be with Daniel Maassen, of course, always very enthusiastically supported in the YouTube chat. Good evening, Daniel. Thank you for joining us once again. P4 for you in the end with a very strong-looking Peugeot. What are your feelings after that race? It looked very difficult out there.
Sweaty. Yeah, very difficult. You kind of have to lean in close during that the race started extremely wet on the track. So it was like just kind of praying that the car would stay on track, really. So it was a very intense, very tough race.
I can imagine. Yeah. So of course we saw the other Peugeot in the hands of Mark Imhoff winning this race. Do you think that the Peugeot really was that strong on this track, and could you have gotten a podium here potentially as well, or was it just a bit too difficult out there?
I think the Peugeot is very good at this track in the dry, and then it's also a good car in the wet. And I had his pole lap beat, and I just messed it up. Lost almost 5/10 in one corner, so it could have been a lot different if I'd started a little closer and been in the fight from the beginning. But I think there's a potential that me and Imhoff could have definitely like been 1-2 because the Peugeot's that good here and that good in the rain, so it's fairly stable. But just some poor decision making and bad luck just didn't really give me a chance to get ahead in the game, really. So I'm happy to finish P4 and at the end though.
Well, it's still a very good result, of course. Nonetheless, so I did want to ask you. It looked very difficult in the rain, especially with the traffic happening all over the place, with LMGT3s driving everywhere. How difficult is that as a hypercar driver to manage those situations?
It's really challenging because there are some tracks and some corners that because the GT3s have ABS and they can almost carry as much speed as the hypercars can, or if not more. And then that's exaggerated in the rain where they're able to brake a lot later, carry more speed in the corners than we are during the rain. And so it makes your normal overtaking points a little more risky. And you have to like really establish yourself alongside a GT driver in the rain because the lines, sometimes if you get on the old dry line when it's really, really wet, it can feel a little bit more slippy. It's just, you gotta be very, very cautious and make sure you like really establish yourself going into a corner if you're trying to overtake because it requires like both parties, especially in the rain. Like the GT3 has to be like, okay, maybe I have to lift a bit. The hypercar has to be like, okay, I can't overtake them here. I have to be patient. So there's a lot of give and take for sure.
Well, great stuff managing all those situations throughout this race. Simon, did you have any questions for Daniel here?
No questions. Still, congratulations on a really good point.
Thank you guys. Appreciate the broadcast as always. Shout out Merc Sim Racing. You guys have a great night. Thanks for having me.
And a great evening to you too. Thank you for joining us once again here in the commentary booth. It was nice to have you. And with that, we are also gonna round up the broadcast here for tonight. Simon, thank you for joining me once again in the commentary booth. Your final thoughts on the racing that we had here tonight at Spa?
Some very close actions and all of that stuff. This race had everything: the boring stage, the very interesting stage, and the strategy stage. So you cannot really say half a word about this race. Not bad at all.
Not bad at all, that's for sure. It really did have everything. And like I said, with that, we're gonna close it all up here tonight. Just some household stuff. Of course, we are now proud to be sponsored by HYMO Setups. So if you are looking for some new setups for your own racing career, do make sure to use the code VMS10 for 10% off when you visit the HYMO Setup website. And of course, we're not anywhere near done here at the VMS. It's Sunday. We will have the fourth round as well for the gold split at Qatar with both Ed Hunter and me in the commentary booth, which will be a sprint race as well. So just 80 minutes of racing. And then in a week time, we will have, of course, the big one again at for the silver split, the 2 hour and 40 minutes at Le Mans with both me and Daniel Krylov in the commentary booth. And that Sunday, we have the platinum split endurance round at Spa with Ed Hunter and Chris Buxton. So 2 endurance rounds next week. You do not win and miss out on those for sure. And of course, the gold coming up in just 2 days' time. In the meantime, though, please do make sure to leave a like and subscribe and do other things for the YouTube algorithm. It really does help us out. And we'll well, my name is Sverre Kolman. Joined with me has been Simon Musik. Thank you very much for watching once again here tonight. We will see you very, very soon. Have a good evening.
Bye bye.